The lights came on after 500,000 years of darkness, deep under the ice of Europa. A moon far from Earth, the machines started to wake up. They had been sleeping for so long that the ice above them had grown thick and old. But now, something had told them to wake up. Something from far away in space had sent a signal, and the machines listened. Inside the frozen vault, there were thousands of glass pods. Each pod held a person. They were not dead. They were only sleeping. The machines had kept them cold and safe for all this time, waiting for the right moment to bring them back. Una was the first to open her eyes. She could not see clearly at first. Everything was red from the emergency lights. Small pieces of ice fell from her face as she tried to move. Her body was stiff and painful. She had been lying in the same position for longer than any human had ever slept before. She tried to speak, but her throat was dry. It took her several tries before she could make any sound. "Hello?" she said. Her voice was weak and rough. The computer answered her. It was called Aurora, and it had been watching over them all this time. "Commander Una, you are awake. The year is approximately 502,847 AD. You have been in preservation for 500,000 years. Una could not understand this at first. Her mind was still slow from the long sleep. 500,000 years? That was not possible. That was longer than humans had existed on Earth before they went to the stars. But the computer did not lie. The numbers were real. Around her, other pods were starting to open. She heard coughing and groaning as more people woke up. The first one she recognized was Taiho, her second in command. He was a tall man with a kind face, and right now that face looked very confused. "Una?" he said. "What happened? Did it work?" "We are alive," she said. "That is all I know." More people were waking up now. Yunji, the scientist who studied alien life, pulled herself out of her pod and fell to the floor. She was shaking from the cold. Hyok, the old historian, needed help from two others to stand. Jizu, the engineer, was already looking at the machines, trying to understand why they had woken up. In total, almost 12,000 people had survived. They were scientists and soldiers. They were teachers and children. They were doctors and farmers and artists. They were the last humans from old Earth, saved from a war that had destroyed everything they knew. Una remembered the war. She remembered the fire falling from the sky. She remembered the order to evacuate, to run to the vaults under Europa's ice. She remembered going to sleep and hoping she would wake up again someday. Now that day had come. "But why? Aurora," she said. "Why did you wake us?" The computer was quiet for a moment. When it spoke again, its voice sounded different, almost worried. "External contact detected. Ships of unknown design are in orbit around Europa. They sent a signal that matched our emergency protocols. I believe they are looking for us." Una felt her heart beat faster. Ships? In orbit? That meant they were not alone. Someone else was out there in the galaxy. She walked to the main control room, her legs still weak and unsteady. The screens there showed what the sensors outside could see. And what they saw was impossible. There were ships in space. Hundreds of them. They were huge and strange, made of materials that Una did not recognize. They did not look like human ships. They did not look like anything she had ever seen before. "Aliens," Yunji whispered. She had followed Una to the control room. Her eyes were wide with wonder and fear. "There are aliens out there." "They found us," Taiho said. "After all this time, someone found us." Jisoo was studying the signals coming from the ships. "They are trying to talk to us," she said. "The message is in a language I do not know, but they are definitely trying to communicate." Una looked at the ships on the screen. She thought about what this meant. For 500,000 years, humanity had been hidden under the ice. The universe had moved on without them. Civilizations had risen and fallen. Stars had been born and died. And somehow, against all odds, someone had found the last humans. Were they friends or enemies? Did they come to help or to harm? What do we do? Taiho asked. Yuna did not answer right away. She was thinking about the war that had sent them into hiding. She was thinking about the enemy that had nearly destroyed them all. She was thinking about the 12,000 people behind her who were counting on her to keep them safe. Finally, she made her decision. "We answer them," she said. "We have been hiding for 500,000 years. It is time to find out what happened to the universe while we were sleeping." She turned to Jisoo. "Open a channel. Let them know we are here." Jisoo nodded and started working on the communication system. The others watched in silence as she sent the first human message in 500,000 years. Outside, in the cold darkness of space, the alien ships began to move closer. The universe was about to learn that humanity was still alive. And humanity was about to learn why they had been preserved for so long. The alien ship landed on Europa 6 days later. Yuna had spent those 6 days preparing her people. They had cleaned the vault, fixed the broken machines, and set up a meeting room near the surface. They had also found their old weapons and made sure they still worked. Yuna hoped they would not need them, but she was not going to take chances. The ship that came down was smaller than the ones in orbit. It was shaped like a long crystal, smooth and shining with inner light. When it opened, Yuna saw her first alien. His name was Borha, and he was tall. Very tall. He stood almost 3 meters high, and his body was made of something that looked like living glass. Inside his clear form, lights moved and pulsed like a slow heartbeat. He had no face that Yuna could recognize, but somehow she knew he was looking at her. "You are human," Borha said. His voice came from a small machine on his chest that changed his words into Korean. "You are the builders." Yuna stood straight and tried not to show her fear. "We are human," she said. "I do not know what you mean by builders." Borha made a sound that might have been surprise. "You do not know? You do not remember what you were?" He looked around at the vault, at the old machines, at the ice walls that had protected the humans for so long. Then he looked back at Yuna. "Come with me," he said. "There is much you need to see." Yuna brought Taiho, Yoonji, and Hyok with her. They followed Borha to his ship and flew up through Europa's ice and into space. What they saw when they reached orbit made them all go silent. The ships around Europa were just a small part of a much larger fleet. And those ships had come from places across the entire galaxy. "The Galactic Confederacy," Borha explained. 800 species. Thousands of worlds. We have lived in peace for 200,000 years, all because of what you left behind. He showed them pictures on the ship's screens. They saw massive stations floating in space, built from metal that humans had made long ago. They saw gates that could move ships faster than light, using technology that humans had invented. They saw cities on distant planets, powered by energy systems that humans had designed. "We call you the Builders because you built all of this," Borha said. "Every civilization in the Confederacy grew from the seeds you planted. We learned to travel the stars using your gates. We learned to power our worlds using your reactors. We learned to heal the sick using your medicine." Hyok, the historian, was crying. "We did all of this? Humanity did this? You ruled the galaxy once," Borha said. "You helped young species grow. You shared your knowledge freely. You were teachers and guides and friends to everyone who needed you. Then, what happened?" Yuna asked. "Why did we hide? Why did we sleep for so long?" Borha's lights dimmed. When he spoke again, his voice was sad. "We do not know everything. The records from that time are damaged or lost. But we know there was an enemy, something dark and terrible that came from the spaces between stars. We call it the Void Blight. He showed them another picture. This one was different. It showed darkness eating a planet, pulling it apart piece by piece until nothing was left. The blight consumed everything it touched. Stars, planets, entire civilizations. Nothing could stop it. Your people fought against it for thousands of years, but in the end, you could not win. So you did something else. We hid, Yunji said quietly. Yes, you sealed yourselves away in vaults across the galaxy. You set machines to watch over you and wait for the danger to pass. Then you slept, hoping that someday you would wake up again. And the blight? Taiho asked. What happened to it? It went quiet. For hundreds of thousands of years, there was no sign of it. We thought it was gone forever. We thought we were safe. Borja turned to face them directly. His lights were pulsing fast now, showing his worry. But 3 months ago, something changed. The old warning systems you left behind started to activate. Stations that had been silent for 500,000 years began sending signals. That is how we found your vault. That is why we came looking for you. The blight is coming back, Yuna said. It was not a question. Yes, we have already lost contact with 17 systems near the edge of our territory. Ships we send to investigate never return. The darkness is waking up, and we do not know how to stop it. Yuna looked at her friends. She saw the fear in their eyes, but she also saw something else. She saw determination. She saw the same strength that had helped their ancestors survive when everything seemed lost. You want us to help you fight, she said. We want you to teach us, Borja replied. You fought this enemy before. You must know something that we do not. Please. The Confederacy has 800 species. Trillions of lives. If the blight returns at full strength, everything will be destroyed. Everyone will die. Yuna was quiet for a long time. She thought about the people in the vault below, still weak from their long sleep. She thought about the enemy that had almost killed them all once before. She thought about running away, hiding again, sleeping until the danger passed. But then she thought about something else. She thought about the universe that humanity had helped build, the civilizations they had raised, the species they had taught, their children, in a way, all of them waiting to see if their parents would come back to save them. She made her choice. Take us to your leaders, she said. We have a lot of work to do. The journey to the capital world took 3 weeks. The humans traveled on a Confederacy transport ship. It was comfortable and clean, with rooms for sleeping and areas for eating. The alien crew was friendly and curious. They kept staring at the humans like they were looking at legends come to life. Jisoo spent the entire journey in the engine room. She was the best engineer in the vault, and she wanted to understand how the Confederacy's technology worked. What she found made her laugh out loud. This is wrong, she told Yuna one night. All of it is wrong. What do you mean? Jisoo pointed to the ship's main power system. This reactor is based on human designs. I can see the basic structure, but they are only using a tiny part of what it can do. Maybe 10 or 15%. They do not know how to use it properly. They never learned. They copied what we left behind, but they did not understand it. It is like a child finding a car and only using it as a place to sit. They do not know it can move. Yuna thought about this. If the Confederacy was using human technology and only a fraction of its power, then maybe there was hope. Maybe they could unlock the rest and give everyone a fighting chance. Can you fix it? She asked. Jisoo smiled. Give me time, and I can fix everything. When they reached the capital world, Yuna understood why the Confederacy was afraid. The planet was called Unity, and it was beautiful. Floating cities hung in the clouds. Ships of every shape and size filled the sky. People from hundreds of different species walked the streets. living and working together in peace. It was everything humanity had dreamed of building, made real by their descendants. And it was all in danger. The Galactic Council met in a great hall at the center of the largest city. Representatives from 800 species filled the seats, all of them waiting to see the humans who had returned from the dead. Una walked to the center of the room. She was just one woman, small and tired, standing before the leaders of an entire galaxy. But she did not feel afraid anymore. She felt something else. She felt responsible. "We know why you brought us here," she said. "You want us to save you from the Blight. You think we have secret weapons or hidden knowledge that will make the darkness go away." She paused and looked around the room. "I have to be honest with you. We do not have easy answers. We fought the Blight once before with all the power of a galaxy-spanning civilization, and we lost. We ran. We hid. We slept for 500,000 years because we could not think of any other way to survive." The hall was silent. Some of the representatives looked disappointed. Others looked scared. But Una continued, "We learned things during that war. We made mistakes, and we remember those mistakes. We will not make them again." She turned to Jisoo. "Show them." Jisoo had been working with the Confederacy engineers for the past week. Together, they had rebuilt one of the capital's defense platforms using the full potential of human technology. The screens in the hall lit up with the results. "Your weapons fire at 100 units of power," Jisoo explained. "This is what they can do with proper tuning." The number on the screen changed. 100 became 1,000. Then 10,000. Then more. The hall erupted in noise. Representatives shouted questions. Some laughed with relief. Others cried. "Your ships can travel 100 light years in a month," Jisoo continued. "With our help, they can travel the same distance in hours. Your shields can block energy beams. Ours can block the Blight itself." Morha stepped forward. "You are saying we have been using only a fraction of our potential?" "Yes. You built a civilization on our leftovers without understanding what they really were. But we can teach you. We can unlock everything." For the first time since they had woken up, Una saw hope in the faces around her. But then a young soldier named Dowan spoke up. He was only 20 years old, barely more than a child. He had been 19 when the vault sealed, and he still remembered things that others had tried to forget. "I was there at the end," he said quietly. "I was part of the last group to reach the vaults before they closed. And I remember what we were running from." Everyone turned to look at him. The Blight was not just strong. It was smart. It learned from every battle. Every time we found a new weapon, it adapted. Every time we built a new shield, it found a way through. That is why we lost. Not because we were weak, but because the Blight could not be beaten by strength alone. Then, how do we fight it? Una asked. Dowan shook his head. "I do not know. But I know that if we only focus on bigger weapons and stronger shields, we will lose again. There has to be another way." Una looked at the young soldier with new respect. He was right. Power alone had not saved them before. They needed something more. "Then we will find another way," she said. "We have the best minds from a galaxy of civilizations working together. If there is an answer, we will discover it." The work began that very day. But deep in space, at the edge of Confederacy territory, the darkness was already moving closer, and it was hungry. The attacks came faster than anyone expected. Within 2 months, the Void Blight had consumed 60 systems. Entire planets disappeared into the darkness. Billions of lives were lost. The Confederacy sent fleets to fight, but most of them never came back. The humans worked without rest. Jisoo and her team upgraded every ship they could reach. Bionho, the old admiral, trained new commanders in human battle tactics. Yunji studied samples of the blight that scouts had managed to collect, and Hyok searched through ancient records, looking for any information that might help. But it was Mireille who found the truth. She was a medic, trained to heal wounds and save lives. She had lost her parents and her brother in the war before the vault. She had carried that pain with her into the long sleep, and it was still there when she woke up. Now she spent her days studying the blight, not as a soldier would, looking for ways to destroy it, but as a doctor would, looking for ways to understand it. "It is not alive," she announced one morning. "Not really." The research team gathered around her. Yuna was there too, tired from another sleepless night. "What do you mean?" Yunji asked. Mireille pointed to the images on her screen. They showed the blight at the smallest level, broken down into pieces too tiny to see with normal eyes. "There is no biology here. No cells, no DNA, nothing that grows or reproduces on its own. This is a machine. A very complex, very advanced machine designed to destroy." "A weapon," Taiho said slowly. "Yes, a weapon that was built to consume technological civilizations. It targets power sources, communication networks, anything that uses advanced technology. It was made to hunt people like us." "Made by who?" Yuna asked. Mireille was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was small. "I found markers in the code. Signatures that identify the creator. The blight uses the same base programming language as our old ships. The same power systems. The same communication protocols." She looked up at Yuna with tears in her eyes. "We made it. Humans made the void blight." The room went silent. Yuna felt like the floor had dropped away beneath her feet. She had always thought of the blight as a monster from outside, an alien evil that had attacked humanity without reason. But it was not alien at all. It was human. It was theirs. "How?" she whispered. "Why would we create something like this?" Hyok had been searching the oldest records, the ones that were damaged and hard to read. Now he stepped forward with answers. "There was a war," he said. "Long before the blight attacked, humanity was not united. Different factions controlled different parts of the galaxy. They fought over resources, over territory, over ideas. The war lasted for thousands of years." He showed them pictures of battles, of destroyed stations, of planets burned down to bare rock. One faction was losing. They knew they could not win. So they built a failsafe. A weapon that would destroy everything if they could not have it. They created the blight and set it loose. "But it killed everyone," June said. She was standing near the door, her face pale with horror. "It did not just kill the enemy. It killed the people who made it too." Yes, the blight did not care about factions or sides. It only knew how to destroy. The faction that created it thought they could control it. They were wrong. Yuna sat down heavily. The weight of this knowledge was almost too much to bear. Her ancestors had created the very thing that had nearly wiped them out. The enemy they were fighting was a monster of their own making. "Does it matter who made it?" Dohwan asked. Everyone looked at him. "The blight is here. It is killing people right now. It does not care about history or blame. Maybe we made it. Maybe we did not. Either way, we have to stop it. That is the only thing that matters." Yuna looked at the young soldier. He was right again. They could not change the past. They could not undo what their ancestors had done. All they could do was try to make it right. "Mireille," she said, "if the blight is a machine, can it be turned off?" Mireille nodded slowly. "Every weapon has a failsafe. Every machine has an off switch. I have been looking for it in the code, but there is so much data to search through. It could take years. We do not have years. I know. The research team worked harder than ever. They searched through millions of files, looking for anything that might shut down the blight. Jisu's engineers built faster computers to help with the search. Scientists from 100 different species joined the effort, bringing their own knowledge and ideas. And while they worked, the darkness kept coming. Reports came in every day. Another system gone. Another fleet destroyed. Another billion lives lost. The blight was getting closer to the heart of the Confederacy, and nothing seemed to slow it down. Una stood at her window late one night, looking up at the stars. So many of them had already gone dark. So many more would follow if they could not find a way to stop this. "We created this," she said to herself, "and we have to end it." Behind her, Myra's computer made a sound. A small chime that meant something had been found. Una turned around. Myra was staring at her screen with wide eyes. "I found it," she said. "I found the off switch. Tell me everything." The shutdown code was simple. Too simple. Myra explained it to the War Council. Representatives from every species in the Confederacy were listening. The fate of the galaxy depended on what she had to say. "The blight was designed by humans to be controlled by humans," she said. "The shutdown code needs two things. First, a specific signal broadcast on a specific frequency. Second, a genetic key. Human DNA. We have both of those things," Borja said. "What is the problem?" "Range. The signal has to reach the central core of the blight. The place where it makes decisions and controls all its parts. And that core is not at the edge. It is in the middle, surrounded by millions of units." She showed them a map. The blight was huge now, stretching across hundreds of systems. At its center was a dark spot, denser and more dangerous than anywhere else. Someone has to fly into the heart of the blight and broadcast the code from inside. The signal will spread from there, shutting down everything it touches. The room was quiet. The ship would be destroyed. Bionho said, "Yes, within seconds of entering the core. Then whoever goes would die." Yes, no one spoke. Everyone understood what this meant. Someone would have to sacrifice themselves to save the galaxy. Someone would have to fly into the darkness and never come back. Dohan stood up. "I will go," he said. Una shook her head. "You are too young." "I am old enough. I was old enough when I fought in the last war. I was old enough when I watched my friends die. I was old enough when I went to sleep thinking I would never wake up." He walked to the front of the room. "I have been living with ghosts for 500,000 years. The people I knew, the world I grew up in, everything is gone. I survived when I should not have. Maybe this is why. There are others who could go," Tayo said. "Older soldiers. People who have lived full lives, and let them die in my place? No, this is my choice. This is what I want to do." Una looked at the young man. She saw the determination in his eyes. She saw that he had already decided, and nothing would change his mind. "You understand what you are giving up?" she asked. "I understand what I am protecting," he replied. "The Confederacy. The humans in the vault. The future that everyone deserves to have. That is worth more than one life. Even if that life is mine." The council voted. The mission was approved. Dohan would fly a modified shuttle into the heart of the blight and broadcast the shutdown code. His human DNA would serve as the genetic key. His death would save trillions. The fleet gathered at the edge of the dark zone 3 days later. 10,000 ships from 300 species formed a massive wall. Their weapons had been upgraded with human technology. Their shields were stronger than ever before. They would hold the line while Dohan made his run. Una spoke to all of them before the battle began. "Today we fight for everyone who came before us and everyone who will come after. We fight for the mistakes of the past and the hopes of the future. Some of us will not survive. But what we do here will be remembered forever. She paused. 500,000 years ago, humanity created a monster. Today, humanity will destroy it. Not alone, but together with all of you. This is not just our fight anymore. It belongs to everyone. The battle began. The blight came like a wave of shadows. Millions of units, each one a machine of pure destruction. They swarmed over the fleet, tearing at shields and cracking hulls. Ships exploded. Crews died. The darkness pushed forward, but the fleet pushed back. Human tactics combined with alien courage. Enhanced weapons cut through enemies that had once seemed unstoppable. Species that had never fought before stood side by side, protecting each other, dying for each other. In the middle of it all, a small shuttle flew toward the heart of darkness. Dowan was alone in the cockpit. The screens around him showed only blackness. The blight was all around him, so thick that no light could get through. His ship was shaking, hit again and again by attacks that his shields could barely stop. "I am almost there," he said into his radio. "We see you," Una replied. Her voice was breaking up. "You are doing great. Just a little further. Tell Jisoo that her modifications worked perfectly. Tell Yoonji that I always thought her research was interesting. Tell Hyok that I read all his books. You can tell them yourself when this is over." Dowan smiled. They both knew that was a lie, but it was a kind lie. The game broadcast now. He pressed the button. The signal went out, carrying the shutdown code and his genetic signature with it. It spread through the blight like a wave, touching every unit, reaching every corner of the darkness. And then the blight stopped. Across the battlefield, millions of units went dark. They stopped moving. They stopped attacking. They just floated in space, dead and harmless. The silence was amazing. On every ship, people began to cheer. They cried and laughed and held each other. They had won. Against all odds, against an enemy that had nearly destroyed humanity once before, they had won. But on the command ship, Una did not celebrate. She was looking at the spot where Dowan's shuttle had been. There was nothing there now. Just empty space. He was gone. The war was over. 3 years later, a memorial stood on Europa. It listed every human who had slept in the vault and every person who had died in the final battle. Dowan's name was at the top. Yuna spoke at the ceremony. Representatives from across the Confederacy were there. So were all the surviving humans, now spread across a dozen worlds, building new lives. "We made a mistake long ago," she said. "We created a weapon that nearly destroyed everything. We ran from our problems instead of facing them. We slept while the universe moved on without us." She looked at the crowd. "But we also got a second chance. A chance to make things right. A chance to be better than we were before. We are not the builders anymore. We are not gods or legends or myths. We are just people trying to do our best. And from now on, we will do that together with all of you." In the crowd, a young Villani child held flowers for the memorial. His parents had named him Dowan, after the human hero who saved them all. One day, he would learn the full story. He would learn about the builders, the blight, and the sacrifice that had given him his future. But for now, he just placed his flowers at the base of the memorial and smiled. The galaxy was safe, and humanity had finally come home.